So what I'm doing here is speeding up the clip speed of my work on this assignment right here. This essentially is speeding up from what is about an hour's worth of work to about 12 minutes. So it's basically 5 times speed. So starting out here, just working on trying to get the slope correct of the street. So the street seems to be sort of sloping upwards, and so we're going to reflect that with sort of a 5-degree grade, trying to get it sort of to go up a bit. Just trying to get my beginning establishing shot here of like got some buildings and a wall and things like that at the far end of this street. So I'm kind of going back and forth between Maya and Unity, sort of placing a few things in Maya and then trying it out in Unity, and back and forth. Basically, level design, blockout design, especially game design in general, is a very iterative process. And so whenever you're sort of creating levels, it's kind of like you're sitting there painting with shapes and just kind of seeing where things go with it, because a lot of times where you end up is a little bit of a surprise. You know, you don't always end up exactly where you were expecting, because you sort of play a little bit and you can play test and things like that, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Anyway, so right now sort of working on trying to establish this sort of far off kind of the main sort of focal point of this composition here. So what you would probably be sort of a goal probably of where the level would be leading you, because standing on the street sort of this prominence, especially there's a flag and there's sort of a little red thing on top. Maybe that's a chimney. I'm thinking it looks like a person to me, so we're going to skip the person right now, but essentially like setting this tower back here up as kind of a goal point that's a destination for where I want to go. So it's really important to sort of get that right, since it seems to sort of be the most important part of this scene. So right now I'm sort of just adjusting sort of this wall. Seems like it sort of feels like the tower is kind of in the right size as far as the concept image goes. Yeah, but the wall seems a little bit too tall for what I'm seeing here. So it looks like there's sort of a couple of buildings back behind here. And you know, really what you see in this image, this Matisse painting, may be very different from what I'm depicting here. And feel free to just use your imagination to fill in the gaps of and make things more interesting if you want. Add extra props and stuff like that. You know, we're just kind of using this painting as sort of a stepping off point, and we don't need to necessarily replicate it exactly, because once you get into the game, you're going to forget about this initial sort of presentation view and really just kind of focus on the gameplay. So really this is just kind of a starting point. But you know, a lot of times the way I work is I'll start with a concept image, or I'll start with some images that I sort of Google search off on the internet, and kind of to sort of get me inspired, figuring out like what did the sort of buildings look like, what kind of props are in there, what is the feeling there, and I try to find something that sort of really fits kind of what I'm going for. And of course, concept art helps a lot with that. Official concept art from the artists I work with, but a lot of that's sort of on my own as well, just trying to fill in the gaps, trying to figure out the sort of world building in here, like why was this wall built, what was that tower for, and just kind of you know, painting with shapes. You kind of just kind of go put stuff in and see how it goes. So I'm putting this sort of This is also sort of a prominent bit of the painting. Is this door is very attractive. It's sort of in a bright area. It's sort of bright and orange. If I had things set up for like interactivity, I would probably make this door sort of a door that you could walk up, hit a button, and it opens for you or something like that. But right now, everything's static, so I'm just kind of leaving it open. Let's see. Let's try. Come on, Unity. There we go. It pops in, and it's feeling pretty good. But yeah, that tower feels like it probably is a lot bigger than it was. It seems like it was crowded, that building anyway. And it's really kind of our own judgment, like how big and how far away that stuff is, because the painting is pretty vague. I'm putting in some sort of the crenellations along the top of this this wall here. It seemed to really characterize the shape of this wall. Maybe this was sort of maybe that's a castle town within a large town, kind of putting a little bit of a sidewalk there to really build it into the ground. And so what I'm building right here is that I'm not really sure what Matisse did, which is kind of like, it kind of has a bluish green wall here. And I think that what I want to do is actually put, I don't know, maybe a little bit of a market stall or something like that here. So making some room with the wall, just bringing this out. Let's see, make it green like he has in the image. And I'm just going to extrude an opening in here. And so maybe I would build that out more in the future, something like that. But right now I'm just kind of making something pretty rough, and just to sort of get the idea, you know. So let's see. All right, so I'm going to extend out sort of the street and make it feel like there's more sort of a lead up to it, figure out some of these buildings here on the side. So from the image, I've got this building that sort of has like, I don't know, a lot of this I'm just kind of interpreting from it. And so I encourage you to sort of read from this and take for what you will and make your own interesting shapes, but kind of like almost kind of like barn sort of shape of building. And then right here, it seemed like beyond that there was a taller building, but I'm just kind of going with it. It seems like this would be a nice sort of tower here that sort of like acts as a counterpoint to the distant tower, as a nice sort of landmark sort of this sort of corner right here. I'm extending up sort of the sidewalk here to give a little bit more character to these sort of side sections, and kind of going to sort of, yeah, paint them sort of a slightly different color. And then I'm going to work on putting these, like lining these buildings up, getting a little more detail on here. So this is probably a building, this has a lot of character, so I probably want the player to be able to go in here. So I'm just going to create a door here. Extend this out so we got some space in there. Just try this out again. Things are coming along. That feels pretty good. So this building, I was building it sort of on an angle right there, which generally is not probably a great idea. So I'm sort of snapping this to the grid so I can sort of build it as an object on its own, and then eventually I'll sort of rotate in place. So right now I'm creating this sort of octagon sort of window here. And, you know, there's a certain amount of detail that I'm going into of this this building in particular that might be a little bit what I call sort of noodling. And I don't understand why that vertex color right there is bleeding into the main face of the building here. That's really irritating, but okay, I'm just going to leave it. Anyway, so this, you know, it's kind of up to you, like how much detail you want to put into stuff. But like I was saying earlier in the lecture, the more detail you put in now, the less freedom artists have later on. But if it's something that you feel like is important for really figuring out the character of the level, then it's something important to put in. So it's really kind of up to you. And hopefully when you work with an artist, you have a good sort of working relationship where they feel like they have the ability to sort of question your design or to make suggestions, just as you are sort of imposing your own sort of artistic judgment on what this blockout scene is going to be. They should be able to sort of work cooperatively with you on the same thing. So impose their design, you're imposing some art. So it's kind of a cooperation sort of thing. So I'm just kind of extending out like what this this street down here is going to go to. I really like how this concept image has sort of like this feeling of there's a crossroads here, and so this is a decision point for my level right here. So maybe I'm sort of leading up to this eventual tower that's off in the distance, and then I'm giving the player sort of some choices on how to approach it. So here we go, just filling in some detail here on the sides. If I wanted to really sort of fill this out, maybe I'd want to actually make some of these buildings something you can go into, but that doesn't seem to be very important right now. So right now I'm going to lead this road up to kind of being, you can't really see what's around the corner there in the image, but I'm going to just sort of make this sort of gate up here because it seems like a good sort of termination of this road. And just kind of make something vague beyond it. So, and then yeah, just fill in a few gaps and stuff like that here. Let's see. All right, just move my character around so they're in the correct sort of spawning point. I think that these doors are actually kind of a little bit small, but since this isn't really this is just a practice level, I'm not going to bother with sort of that. I'm going to go in here and just add a few extra sort of details with some prototypes that have already pre-built. So obviously these barrels and these trees are not in the original concept image, but now we're moving beyond that and making our own sort of level. Anyway, so yeah, take a look at this and make your own judgment, and I really look forward to seeing what quick level SketchUp you make. So thank you, and I'll see you next week.